with the amount of energy that now exists within the Civic Leadership Group, I'm absolutely convinced that we will be successful.
Hello, and welcome to the G&O Summer Road Trip podcast series, brought to you by the Fund for Our Economic Future. Each week, we'll hear a story of growth and opportunity from your communities throughout Northeast Ohio. I'm your host, Madison Scagnetti. For this week's episode of G&O Summer Road Trip, I traveled to the Stark Community Foundation in Canton to talk with President and CEO Mark Samolczyk about the Stark Civic Leaders Group he's a part of. We started off our conversation with some background on when and how the group was convened.
The group was started almost 2 years ago. I think it was August of 2015. I received a call from Dennis Saunier, who is the president and CEO of the Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce, and Dennis asked if I would be interested in a short meeting to include both he and Jim Porter, who is the publisher of the Canton Repository, to talk about an important issue for Stark County, and that issue was that we began to recognize that there were a whole host of organizations across Stark County that had either recently developed a brand new strategic plan and were in the early stages of implementation, or they were in the middle of creating a new strategic plan. And Dennis thought it would be a good idea that we try to get our arms around who these organizations were and what they were trying to achieve, and whether or not it made sense to bring some of them together to share our stories and to better understand the new strategies, the new strategic directions of the organization. So the first thing we did is we took a look at those organizations. We came up with over 24 different organizations developing or implementing brand new strategies. From that list, we refined it down to 7 different organizations that we invited to our first meeting, which occurred somewhere around September, October of 2015. The original members of the Civic Leaders Group were representatives from the Repository, Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce, Stark Community Foundation, from the City of Canton, Pro Football Hall of Fame, United Way of Greater Stark County, and the Canton-Akron Regional Airport. What we did early on was to simply convene these monthly meetings, a very informal process. There was no leader chosen. It was 7 leaders of these organizations that came together to talk about things that were going on in our organizations, what our strategies were, and so forth, so that we developed a better understanding of what we were attempting to do, and probably most importantly, how these other organizations could assist us with better implementation of our strategic plans.
After sharing some background on the group, Mark provided an example of the type of projects the group focuses on.
Once we had gone through the presentations and discussion of the strategic plans, we then began talking about what could we do as a group of civic leaders to move the local agendas forward. One of the areas, as an example, that we focused on a number of months ago was the redevelopment of the heart of downtown Canton, which is known as Market Square, which today is an open grassy field with some trees planted and so forth. And it serves kind of as the focal point for the comprehensive plan for the city of Canton. The intent is that we focus on Market Square with the redevelopment of that into a much more user-friendly, people-friendly space, and then move out from the heart of Canton and begin to implement the comprehensive plan, which was passed by Canton City Council, I think about a year ago. First comprehensive plan the city of Canton has known for some 50 years, if you could imagine that. So we've been working towards our support of Market Square. It has grown from a $2 million initial architectural drawing to plan now that is in excess of a $10 million project. And so we're working diligently with the city of Canton to raise funds for the development of Market Square. And it's going to be a huge bonus and a huge impact for the heart of the city of Canton.
Mark shared that since its inception, the group has grown.
We decided that from this original group of 7 of us, we've expanded the group to include representatives from other parts of Stark County. Thought it important that we have representatives from the city of Alliance, the city of Massillon, We've invited a member of the political leadership in Jackson Township, which is the largest and fastest growing township in Stark County. And we have also added the leader of the Stark Development Board to sit in on the leadership group.
I was glad to hear that Chris Thompson, the former Director of Regional Engagement for our fund and author of our Collaboration Handbook, is involved with the group.
One of the things that I should point out is that early on in the first meeting, we decided at that meeting that in order for this to be successful, we needed to have facilitation of this gathering, that as a group of civic leaders, we really didn't want to elect a chairman of the group or anything along those lines, but we needed to have someone to facilitate the discussions. I recommended that we ask Chris Thompson from the fund to participate. Quite truthfully, I know that the group would not be making the progress that it is making without the facilitation skills of Chris and the leadership that he's providing and making sure that we're staying on task and focusing on the issues that should be focused on. So Chris has been part of this group from the very beginning, and he continues, I'll say, to do a remarkable job for us, educating us on many of the experiences that he's had as he's done his work across Northeast Ohio.
Mark and I ended our conversation with some discussion on what the group is working on currently.
Where we are at today is a very energized discussion on the need to create an economic development strategy for all of Stark County. And what's important to note at this point is that as we've talked about the creation of an economic development strategy, we have fully embraced the concept of growth and opportunity. It's been an education for a number of the members of the Civic Leadership Group, but they are beginning to internalize the concepts of growth and opportunity. Our discussions focus on the areas of job creation, job preparation, job access. It provides us with a framework to deal with the issues that we face here in Stark County. One of the first things that we're doing, the group has agreed, is that we've commissioned a white paper which will serve as a baseline for the work going forward, and that white paper will be, it's being written by Chris Thompson. It will be published by Stark Community Foundation. And the white paper will lay out the facts as we know them today in terms of the growth or lack of growth or the shrinkage of the economy in Stark County. The fact of the matter is that our population has been stagnant for a number of years. In the words of Chris Thompson, if we do nothing different, we will end up with a smaller, older, poorer community. The white paper, when it's published, hopefully at the end of June, will be somewhat sobering because the facts are the facts, and it's not necessarily a pretty picture, but we need to recognize that so that we change our mindset and really begin to focus on this concept of growth and opportunity and what will it take to provide better job preparation skills, better job access, better job creation capabilities. And working under this framework, I think that we will be very successful.
I couldn't leave before asking Mark what his favorite road trip was.
I've had 3 best summer road trips, and those summer road trips were trips spent with each of my 3 children as they went through their college search process. 2 of them were extended 4 and 5 day trips out to the East Coast and back throughout New England and then back to Canton. And one of them was through Ohio and Pennsylvania. And it was just a really unique opportunity not only to travel from here to the East Coast or throughout the state of Ohio, but a tremendous opportunity just for some really good one-on-one time with each of my 3 children individually.
Thank you to Mark for sitting down with me to talk about the Stark Civic Leaders Group. It's a really great story of growth and opportunity coming out of Stark County. Also, thank you to all that are listening, and stay tuned to see where our summer road trip takes us next week. Oh, and if you want to learn more about the elements of a successful collaboration, go to www.collaboration.thefundneo.org.